Timothy, thank you guys as well for jumping in here this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Major Martin. I've just loved what you're talking about, that whole mindset of focusing on what's in your control. We talk about that a lot, what's in your control. There are things that are out of your control, and there are things in your influence, but we've got to focus on controlling the controllables. And as we kind of pivot and kind of go to the next session of this, I just want to go ahead and say thank you to the Marines. I mean, they are the ones who are literally living everything we're about to teach you, right? We're talking about these leadership principles in a sports context. The Marines are living it in a life or death context. And it's a totally different ball game. Leadership is easy to talk about, but it's another thing to live out. So with that, I'm really excited. I've got one of my really best friends with me here today, Timothy Alexander. I'll be introducing him later on. But today we're going to talk about the thermostat leader. And to kind of kick things off, if you're not familiar, my name is JT Thoms. I work with Growing Leaders, which is a nonprofit organization. And we exist really just to empower the emerging generations with skills to lead in real life. We've had the opportunity to partner with thousands of coaches and teams and athletic departments all across the country. And we are just honored for the opportunity to partner with Glazier Clinics and the Marines to come together today to talk to you about what it takes to be a great team captain. Now, as I'm going through the session today, I want to make it interactive. So I want you to go ahead and get your fingers ready, because I'm going to have you type in some answers really quick, because I want to start off by getting a context as to where you would currently rate yourself as a leader. So let's start off here. On a scale from 0 to 10, where do you fall, right? Type in your answer in the chat box, but where do you rate yourself as a leader? 0 being, I'm super poor, I'm not good at it, to 10 being, I am a superior leader on my team. I think that I'm really great. Where would you say you fall? Go ahead and type that in. Just 0 to 10. Good. I see a lot coming in. Awesome. This is great. You know, it's really important for us to know where we're at. We need to, as a leader, to be self-aware as to where can we grow? Where do we need to grow? Am I confident enough to lead, right? So now I want to go to the next question, all right? 0 to 10. Where do you fall on this one? Where do you rate yourself as a team leader? Maybe when you walk in the room, do people feel 0 being discouraged or 10 being encouraged? When you walk in the room, do people feel 0 discouraged or 10 encouraged? I know the guy I'm going to be introducing you to today, Timothy Alexander, literally every time he's in the room, I smile, because I just get so encouraged being around him today. And I hope that you get that today too, right? But I know for me, I would probably not rate myself at a 10, right? I wouldn't rate myself at a 10. Curious as to what you think. Keep typing them in. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to think about that question. I want to go to one more, all right? 0 to 10. When you think about leadership, right? Would you say, I believe leadership is 0, developed over time? You really think that, you know, leadership can be something that you develop? Or would you answer on a scale of 10, you'd say, you know what, I just think it's something you're born with. You can't really learn it, you can't really grow, it's just natural. You're either born with it or you're not, is basically this question. If you think you're born with it, put a 10. If you think it's just developed over time and it's something you can grow in, you can put it closer to the 0. Awesome. I love the engagement. Thank you guys for typing in. Well, I ask you these questions because it's really important that as we deliver information to you today, that we have more of a conversation, because information that we are not able to have conversation about will never really lead to application, which then you're never going to experience transformation, right? I know I just did a lot of Asian words right there, but I think it's helpful for you guys to understand my goal today is not to just give you a bunch of information. I want to help you think. I want to help you rethink the way you go about making decisions so that you can lead yourself and be a great team captain. And for you to understand what we believe about leadership is very important, because what we believe about leader development will help you understand how we approach today's talk, right? So at Growing Leaders, we believe that leadership is an inside job before it's an outside job. In other words, you need to change your heart. You need to remember who you are, develop that self-awareness, that self-confidence. You need to know who you are and let it change you from the inside out, right? Number two, it's a process more than an event. We do not believe leadership is just a one-time thing. You did one really great thing and now everybody's going to follow you. No, it's about consistency. It's about being consistent every single day in the little things. Number three, it's an art more than it is a science, right? Now, I say this because people are just different. Every single team is different, right? It's, Coach Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney are completely different leaders. They're both phenomenal leaders, but they're completely different in the way that they go about things, right? It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just, it's a little bit different. So it is a little bit more of an art than it is a science, right? It's not a here's A plus B plus C equals D, right? It's going to be a little bit more up for interpretation based on the people that you're with. And you've got to learn to lead them and understand the culture that you're in so you can best engage them, right? We also believe that leadership is caught more than it is taught. It's caught more than it's taught. In other words, as I deliver some information to you today, and Timothy Alexander and I kind of share with you, just like the Marine shared with you just now, just because you heard this, it doesn't make you a leader. What makes you a leader is if you catch it and you decide to do something with it, right? So just remember that. It's often sometimes that people just have to learn it on their own, right? We can give you the information, but you're the one who's just going to have to catch it and try to do something with it, right? And then lastly, we'd say it's more about a disposition than is about a position. In order to be a leader, you actually don't have to be the team captain. In fact, some of the best leaders are not the captains. They're the people who are the walk-on student athlete, right? They're the student who's maybe outworking everyone and encouraging everyone, but they never play. Sometimes those make the best leaders, even though they don't have the title to match it. So I just want you to understand, this is the philosophy that we come from at Growing Leaders. And at Growing Leaders, we're called growing leaders because we do not believe that you just arrive at leadership someday. We don't think that you're just naturally born as a leader. We do believe that some people are wired in a certain way that it makes it come easier to them, 100%, right? But leadership, there's tons of research that shows things like emotional intelligence and leadership, these are things that can be developed. IQ, you're just born with it, right? You can't change your IQ. But your EQ, your emotional intelligence, there's so much research that shows you can grow in that as you continually practice and exercise and change your habits and your thinking. So with that, I think it's really important for you guys to know this is how we approach leadership, and this is what we believe. So if you disagree with us, you may just want to go ahead and just hop off now. But if you're up for the journey, we'd love to talk to you really quick about what it looks like to be an elite thermostat leader. Now, before I move on, there's some really important things. There's 4 things I want you to think about. I'm not going to be able to cover all these 4 things today. But if you really want to grow as a leader, I want you to commit to thinking about how you can develop your emotional intelligence, right? Your emotional intelligence is basically your ability to be self-aware. You know how you feel. You have high self-management. You can manage your feelings. You can manage your behaviors. You can be disciplined, right? It's social awareness. You can walk into a room and kind of have an understanding how everybody else is feeling and how they're doing and kind of see their hearts. And then it's relationship management. It's being able to lead different relationships in your life in order to help them get where they want to go as well. I'd also encourage you to really focus on developing your strengths, right? Strengths discovery is a huge thing. This would be not just how fast you can run or how high you can jump. It's figuring out how are you wired? What are the strengths that you have that maybe somebody else doesn't, right? Maybe you're a great communicator. Maybe you're a really good listener. Maybe you really love focusing on details and unpacking things. Maybe you're really good at making people feel welcome. Maybe you're really good at thinking about others, right? What are the strengths you have? You can go to strengthsfinder.com and look up a little bit more on that. Other thing that I want you to focus on is something called moral intelligence. Really, this is just a big word for character, okay? But if you can make better decisions and you can be a person of high moral intelligence and high character, you will be a better leader every time, and you will stand out amongst your peers every time. And then lastly, I want to challenge you to develop a leadership perspective, which ultimately is focusing on seeing the bigger picture everywhere you go. Most people get caught up only thinking about themselves, but great team leaders, captains, and the elite leaders, everywhere they go, they think about the big picture and how it's going to affect everyone and how they can best set the tone to better the lives, not of themselves, but the people around them. So with that, I want to get laser focused today and get as practical as we can about talking about what it looks like to be a thermostat leader. And thermostat is really a metaphor. It's derived from a resource that Growing Leaders has created, used by NFL, Major League Baseball, collegiate teams, and high school teams all across the country. Habitudes are simply images that form leadership, habits, and attitudes. And the image that is this entire talk is based around is simply the image of a thermostat, right? You see it on the screen. We call this thermostat or thermometer. Now, if you think about with me really quickly about this, a thermostat and a thermometer both have to do with the temperature, right? But a thermometer, it can only tell you what the temperature is. Or a thermostat, it sets the climate. What we believe at Growing Leaders is that people are either thermometers or they're thermostats. They'll merely reflect the climate around them, or they will set it. In great team captains, they develop values and principles to live by, and they set the tone and the temperature for everyone around them by the way they choose to live every single day. Great team captains don't set the tone just because they're vocal. They set the tone because of who they are. They are a thermostat. You probably already know some thermometers, don't you? You've probably been a thermometer before. The thermometer is that person on the team when it's really cold outside at practice and everything just feels miserable. The thermometer is the person who says, it's cold out here. I'm cold. This stinks. I don't want to do this, right? Well, thank you very much, Mr. Thermometer. You added no value to anyone around you by complaining. That adds everybody can tell you that it's cold outside, right? The thermometer is the person that complains, that states the obvious. Anyone can tell you what the temperature is. The thermostat is the one that is able to come in and have a different mindset and say, hey, it's cold, but I get to be here today. I'm so excited that we get to practice and work and work our bodies to get stronger and become more elite despite the weather. If we can do it in this cold weather, imagine how good we can do it in 72-degree weather, right? It's the difference between I've got to do this and I get to do this. Now, let me tell you really quick, there are 5 attitudes that eat the life of a team up. It just destroys a team. In thermostats, great thermostat leaders make sure they never embody these 5 things, and they try to do everything they can to combat and to call up people who fall into these areas, okay? We call them the culture-killing behaviors. They're really simple. It's selfishness. It's that athlete who's just thinking about how much playing time they're getting, how many points they're going to get, whether they're going to get a scholarship, right? It's the laziness. It's the I don't really care because I never play, or I'm too good for this. It's that attitude that I'm not as committed, so I don't really need to try, right? That laziness it just kills teams. Territorial attitudes, that those team members who think they're better than everybody else and they create cliques on their team and they make others feel like outcasts. That kills teams. Or you're the starting, shooting guard, or you have a starting position somewhere and you're so nervous about somebody taking over your position that you just become territorial about it, that you don't even want to be subbed in the game even though you're exhausted because you're afraid and you're self-conscious and you become territorial. Gossip destroys teams. Talking negatively about people behind their backs, starting rumors about others. Usually gossip is derived from just people who are self-conscious. They're so insecure about themselves that the only thing they know to do is to talk about others. And then the last thing is negativity. These are the things that kill teams. If you want to kill your team, do these 5 things. If you want your team to be elite, if you want to be an elite leader, start calling yourself away from all these things. Be the person who doesn't give into selfishness, who is humble and serves others, who works hard no matter how tired you are. And even if you don't understand why you're doing a drill, do it and do it with all your might. And don't be territorial. Be the person who helps that younger athlete or helps that other player try to take your spot. Be the person who pushes them and says, you got to try and beat me and I want to help you, because that's only going to make you better. Be the person who stops gossip when you hear it. Don't engage with it. Call it out and say, hey, let's not do that. Let's go talk to the person who we're talking to. Let's ask them directly. And quit the negativity. That's how you can change your team's culture very practically, right? These simple things can completely change the way you lead and change the way your team interacts. Now, I want to talk to you about how do you do this? How do you start getting to a place where you can call these things out and people actually listen, right? Because there's a whole nother thing. If you try to go in and you're a freshman on the team and you just go in and start doing this stuff, right? Well, you may not have the credibility, and that's okay, right? If it's who you are, keep doing it, but it's going to take some time for you to win other people over. So let me tell you exactly how you're going to win people over and become a thermostat on your team. It's really easy. There's 2 things you've got to do. Number 1, you need to live by values. You need to live by values. You need to have a moral compass that filters every decision that you make every day through, right? If you have, for example, a value of hustle, right? That means you better hustle to everything that you do. There used to be, I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and there used to be a running back at the University of Georgia, a guy named Noshawn Marino. Noshawn Marino, one of his values was hustle. He ran onto the field. He ran to every single huddle. He ran everywhere he went, even though he was exhausted, even though it actually wasn't that wise in a sense, because he had just run a 50-yard football down the field. He still sprints back to the huddle because it's who he is. He cannot do anything other than hustle. It's about his value. He believes for him, he was so convicted that he wanted to live out hustle that it didn't matter what he was doing, he was going to run. He was going to run to the huddle. He was going to run off the field. He was going to run onto the field. He was going to run to the locker room. Noshawn went on to play in the NFL and had a very good career. But he had a moral compass. He had values that he didn't care what other people said. Like, Noshawn, why don't you just jog, man? Take it easy. He didn't care because it was his own value. Not the team's value, it was his value. And then the other thing that you can do to be a positive thermostat is you got to add value. Add value by serving others. Adding value isn't always being the person who puts the most points on the scoreboard. Sometimes adding value is being the person who encourages and empowers the people who are putting the points on the scoreboard. Right? It's being able to step back and let others into the light. It's serving the people around you by choosing every single interaction you have with your teammates. You want to add value to them so that when they leave, they got better because they were around you. Right? Whether that's they got better because they felt better about themselves because you encouraged them, or they got better because you pushed them and challenged them, or you called them up and challenged them to push in more, right? But you need to live by values and add value. So with this idea of the thermostat, I want to introduce you to somebody who I think has just lived this out better than anyone I've ever met. This guy's my best friend. I was in his wedding, right? Like we go back together. And his story is remarkable. When he was a young boy, all he wanted was to play in the NFL. He came from not a really lucrative area, right? It was actually a really tough place in the streets of Birmingham, Alabama. And he went to a school where he knew his only ticket out was to make it to the NFL. And he was an elite athlete. In fact, his senior year, he was rated as one of the top tight ends in the country and had full ride offers to play at the University of Florida and the University of Alabama. He was incredible. But something happened that completely changed his life. You see, Timothy Alexander, in his senior year, was going to a bowl game with his friend to actually go receive an award for his incredible athletic ability. And on the drive to the bowl game, Timothy was in the passenger seat, his friend was in the driver's seat, and his friend's little nephew was in the back. And all of a sudden, his friend, they were both really tired, fell asleep at the wheel. When he fell asleep at the wheel, of course, the car then crashed, and they were in the mountains of Alabama. Before the car actually fell down the mountain, Timothy unbuckles his seatbelt so he can get the child in the back seat out of the car, and he saved the child's life. But unfortunately, by doing that, when the car fell down the mountain, Timothy didn't have a seatbelt on. Timothy was once the whole car fell to the bottom of the mountain, Timothy passed out. He was unconscious, and his friend unbuckles a seatbelt trying to pull him out because the car lit fire. And as he pulls him out, he slips on oil and drops Timothy's neck, where it hits and slices on the broken glass just at a point that it causes Timothy to go paralyzed from the neck down. And Timothy Alexander, who was an elite athlete, one of the top tight ends in the country, in an instance, lost everything in football and lost everything that he knew. He went to the hospital, of course, and was suicidal, was depressed, because everything that he knew to live for was taken away from him. But then he had a dream one night. He had a dream that he was going to play football again. He was going to play football again. So he decided that he was going to do whatever it took to make that dream come to a reality. He told his mom to take him to the shoe store, to Hibbett Sports, and buy him some new football cleats. And then he ended up learning to move his arms and his waist again. His legs weren't moving, but he said, that doesn't matter, I'm still going to play football. And get this, I kid you not, Timothy Alexander ends up, after doctors said he never would, learning how to use his arms, learning how to talk again, even though the doctor said he'd be a vegetable the rest of his life. And he decides when he goes to college, he goes to UAB, he decides he's going to show up at football tryouts in his wheelchair. And that's exactly what he does. Timothy shows up to UAB football tryouts in his wheelchair, and the coach blows the whistle and says, skill players on the line. And so Timothy rolls up in his wheelchair on the line. And he just starts going and he starts working. And when the players started to do things that he couldn't do because he was in a wheelchair, he would get down and start doing push-ups, as many as he could. And when the players next to him would get lazy or put their hands on their knees, he would yell at them and say, what are you complaining about? Why are you tired? I'm in a wheelchair and I'm working harder than you. And he would just encourage and empower the people around him. He was so encouraging and so uplifting that the head coach came to him after tryouts and said, for somebody to have as much heart and as faith as you do, there's no way I can't have you on this football team. And Timothy Alexander became the first ever paraplegic Division I football scholarship athlete at UAB. But the story doesn't end there. I'm just going to give you a little bit more before I introduce this guy. After he earned a spot on the team, 2 years into his career at UAB, the president of the university comes and says, we're canceling football, bowling, and rifling. We're cutting it off. Timothy is a thermostat, though. He's not going to let somebody else set the climate for his life. So he tells the president, no, you can't do that. And the president says, well, unless you've got, $40 million, we're canceling the program. And Timothy says, I don't have $40 million yet. And Timothy Alexander goes out and starts learning litigation, starts meeting with business leaders, rallies the student body, and Timothy Alexander helps lead a movement that raised $48 million in 2 years. And then Timothy Alexander made a promise that he would take his first steps onto the field, and I was at this game with him, and Timothy Alexander led UAB back onto the field after he raised that $48 million for the first ever UAB football game, when they went on to have a winning record, and now they are the champions of the conference, and they have completely turned around the program, all under Timothy Alexander's leadership, and Timothy Alexander never once stepped on the field himself to catch a pass in a game. So If you want to know what a thermostat looks like and how you can lead without ever touching the field, there's no one better than Timothy Alexander. Now, Timothy works with growing leaders. He goes around the country sharing his story and encouraging others. And I'm excited for you to hear from him today. So, Timothy, join us in. I'll let you unmute yourself, man. Super excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us today, my friend.
Yes, sir. Honor to be here, JT, Glazier Clinics, and everyone. Thank you so much. And Major Martin, thank you so much for your words. What's up, JT?
Timothy, I'm just so glad you're here today, man. You heard me share your story, right? And, there's a saying that you often say that I just absolutely love. When the doctor told you you only had, a small percent chance, I think it was like, what, 5% or less?
Yeah, 5% chance.
Ever to walk again, you said, we don't need it to be easy. We just need it to be possible.
Yes, sir.
And you say this all the time, Timothy.
All the time.
We've got a lot of people listening right now, over 2,400 people who are sitting in their homes. They're wondering, are they enough? They're wondering how to lead, how to be a team captain. And I just want you to share your story. Share what you think. Share what's on your mind with these people who are viewing in today.
Yeah. Well, I think my sharing has everything to do with what we've heard. And, Major Martin, he started saying it. He said it. You said it. But it's about you applying what you've heard. My entire life, I've heard that you will always be a champion if you don't quit. I've always heard that you got what it takes. I've always heard that you can do it if you put your mind to it. And so those things that you are told, those things that you are heard, they only come in hand when it's time to apply them, when you have a crisis, when your back is up against the wall. I tell everybody the true measure of a champion is not how he celebrates a win, but how he responds when his back is up against the wall. That's a thermostat. And so when I think about that, I think about when my back was up against the wall. When the doctor told me, yes, man, you went from being a 5-star athlete one day to now having a 5% chance to ever walk or talk again. Now, what are you going to do? Like, this is it for you. But I had to decide. I had to decide that day that regardless of what's going on right now, I know it's not going to be easy, but it will be possible if I can start first with my mind. If I can start understanding that it is what it is, it's just about what I make it. It is what it is, but it could always be worse. And so going through my 2-year journey, I began to develop because I endured through tough times. I endured through suicidal moments. I endured through depressed moments. I endured through those moments when I didn't feel worthy, all because I started first with my mind. And so when my mind changed, when I started accepting the fact that I am worthy, that I do got what it takes, that I am a leader, and tough moments produce great leaders, I said, okay, let's do this. And so I had to not only do it one day, but make a commitment, make a covenant with my words, be loyal to what I say every single day of my life if I wanted to transform my life. But that started with that appreciation of, okay, it is what it is, but guess what? It could be worse, but this is how I'm going to take this and do something positive with this. And so to everyone on this call, if you are on this call right now, then you have what it takes. But you have to see it for yourself. You have to believe for yourself. You have what it takes. But what it takes means you're going to do what it takes day in and day out. And that's what I've been doing now for the last 14 years as a paraplegic.
Timothy, I love just your passion in the truth behind your words, because you've lived this out, right?
Yes,
this isn't a story. This isn't a talk for you. This is your life, right?
Right.
Well, one of the things that I want to do, Timothy, is to help people get to know you a little bit. And one of the things about leadership, right, is making choices. So can we play a game together really quick? Can I play a game with you?
Yeah, let's play.
All right, now all of you who are watching, you're going to play this too, and I'll give you instructions in a second, but I need to introduce our game. It is called What's the Scenario? All right, now, TA, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to put a scenario on the screen. Everybody who's watching, you're going to have to choose what the correct answer is based on your response, right? And then they're going to get a chance to respond before you do to see, how they line up with a thermostat leader like yourself. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, so here's the scenario. A teammate is running late for practice. Do you let him be late? It's his fault. He should just grow up anyway, assuming it's a male sport. It's a her if it's a female sport, right? Let him be late. Or do you help them get their things together and risk being late with your teammate? What do you do? All right, give us a couple of seconds for everybody to put their answers in really quick. You can put it in the chat, and we'll see if you and Timothy think the same. What are you thinking, Timothy? Which way are you going to go?
Am I ready?
Are you ready? All right, let's do it. I think we got about 300 people now who've posted. All right, Timothy, what's your answer? Which one are you going to do?
I'm going with I'm going with let them be late because you've grown, right? You should know what you're doing, because that's going to give you an opportunity for us to have a discussion on, hey, man, we're grown. We don't do this. But I'm not going to, just because you being late don't mean I'm going to be late. Mediocre people don't like high achievers, so you're on your own.
Yeah. What I love about this question is there's no right or wrong answer, right? You can do both, right? Both are good leadership traits, right? But I think you're right, and I think there's an answer in the middle, right? There's an answer in the middle there of, well, I'm going to let him be late on his own, but we're going to have a good talking to, right?
That's it.
That's good. All right. Next question. Here we go. Everybody get ready to type in your answers. Here's the scenario, okay? Your team is so diverse in personalities, so cliques begin to occur and rivalries sprout, all right? Maybe that sounds familiar with some of you. I saw a couple of people saying that they've got tons of cliques on their teams. Do you ignore it? Everyone can't get along anyway, right? It just is what it is. Or do you invite a conversation about how we can all start, creating or breaking down the cliques? Ignore it, everyone can get along, or invite conversation to talk about how to build down the cliques. What do you do? All right, now don't answer, Timothy. We're going to give people a couple of chances to respond here. I love seeing all these answers come in. This is great.
They coming in fast, too.
Yeah, they are. Has this ever happened to you before, Timothy? You had a team like this? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
All right, so, I think we've given people enough time, Timothy. What is your answer? What would you do?
I'm inviting.
Yeah? You're going to invite them all in?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now, when you had your team, and you did this before, I mean, kind of what did that look like for you? How did you get over that?
Well, you got to also understand that in teams, you have your group. So you got cornerbacks, running back, receivers. Everybody have their group, but at the same time, you have to always remind them, yes, you are a cornerback, but we are all on the same team, right? Mm. And so if we are clicking up and it's causing the team to separate, then the group and this clique has just taken over. But I do get, hey, if you have your own specialist, where all the centers go together, all the linebackers, right? But you still have to understand that the coach is not bigger than the team divided in that area.
Yeah, different states, one nation, right? America, right? That's good, man. All right, well, I want to dive in now, Timothy, and you and I can talk about this. But as I think about the thermostat leader, there are some specific habits and attitudes that I would say every thermostat has, right? We've talked about this one a little bit, but I want to dive a little bit more into what this means. We said that a thermostat always adds value. In short, what we mean by that is you take initiative to extravagantly care for your teammates.
Right.
Extravagantly care for your teammates. The metaphor or the habitude, right, that we talk about with this is really the idea of a host and a guest, right? Timothy, I know we're not going to restaurants right now, right? But when you would go to a restaurant, right, the first person who greets you is the host, right? And the host says, oh, hello, Mr. Alexander. Let me show you in. Thank you very much for coming. Can I get you something to drink while you wait? Oh, here's your booth. Let me show you too. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you've chosen our restaurant today, right? They're very much taking initiative to build a relationship. As a guest, you have a completely different mindset, right? Your mindset is, I'm hungry, where's my seat? When am I going to get my food? How long is the wait? It better not be too long or I'm going across the street, right? It's a very entitled mentality. What we would say that the mentality of always add value, right, is that you have a host mentality. Right. In fact, I'll put it really clearly. Elite team captains take initiative in relationships.
Right.
They're intentional about them. They see themselves as hosts, not guests, and they go out of their way to connect with people and provide for them. Now, Timothy, you have lived this out. There are many stories. I remember you talking to me about conversations at the gas station with your teammates. You're constantly inviting them, right? You became a leader on your team and you didn't even play in the actual game physically.
Right.
Talk to me. What does that mean to have that host mentality? How do you be a host?
Well, I think with being a host, you have to remind them of what they signed up to get themselves into. It's when you come to a restaurant, hosts know it's a reason why you came here. It's a reason why you chose us. And so when I was on the team, when I was being a leader and I didn't even have a title, all I was simply doing was reminding other leaders that were leaders, hey, too much is given, much is required. Because you're here, we have a certain requirement. And so I would always figure out, okay, coaches said you're a captain, you're an upcoming senior, you're an upcoming leader. And so I would remind them that, hey, this is your team. Sometimes you have to open your mouth because as we know, action does speak louder than words, but sometimes you have to open up your mouth and be the action that you want them to see. And so my journey came from, we was a losing team. When I joined the team at UAB, we had not won over 10 games in about 10 years, right? And so when I got on the team, everybody's walking with their head down, but I'm like, hey, pick your head up. You got a reason to be here. Let me remind you, you are an elite athlete, which is why you're here. And so whenever you want to make an excuse, if it's too tired, if you're too tired, if it's too hot, if you feel like you can't do anymore, I'm going to be over here doing push-ups and sit-ups because I wanted to be the change they were looking to see. And so if you want to see better leadership, be a better leader, express different leadership. And so I took the pressure off of them and put it on me, which is simply taking away excuse and providing opportunity. That's what I did. And so by doing that, things began to grow, and I became a leader that didn't even want the leadership title. I was just thankful. I appreciate where I am, and I'm like, hey, man, leaders don't just have to lead in the front. They can lead from the back, too, and then everything else began to change because I wanted to be what you want to see. If you want to see greatness, be great.
I love that. That's sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just love that saying. Leaders don't have to lead from the front; they can lead from the back too.
They can lead from the back.
Solid quote. It's such a good mindset to have because I think we get into this mentality of, well, if I'm going to be a host, I need to be the captain. And I'll just say, for those of you not listening, you don't have to be the captain. Timothy Alexander, I promise you, when he walked in or rolled onto the team, right? He was not the captain, right? He probably. There were a lot of guys who probably just thought you were you were probably not adored right away.
They didn't adore me right away because you got to understand, it's so many people longing for that scholarship. But this guy in a wheelchair comes out to 5 a.m. morning practice, and he gets behind the line and he displays gratitude and he gets a full ride. It was so many guys upset, and they just thought they gave me something because I was in a wheelchair. And I had to address the team from the back saying, I know you all probably don't respect me, but you don't have to respect me. I'm going to earn your respect by taking away excuses, by providing opportunity from the back. I always was on time. You know, all these, they're finding my area, but standing out. That's leadership.
Yeah, and that's the host mentality. What you just said, you don't have to respect me. I'll earn your respect. That's a host, right? A host encounters guests that are absolute jerks, and it doesn't affect them. It doesn't change the way they serve, right? But a guest, have you ever been at a restaurant and you're a guest and the host is a jerk? You're like, I'm never coming back here again, right? But a host, They don't care if the guest is a jerk. It may affect them emotionally, but it's not going to change the way they are because they have the host mentality that it's my job to serve and to earn their respect. Right?
Solve and serve.
So let's keep going because I got more habits I want to talk to you about. You're gold right now, my friend. All right. So the next habit and attitude of a thermostat leader is something we call beginning with belief.
Yeah.
Begin with belief. And in short, what this is assume the best about your teammates and always take the high road. Now, I want to show you a habitude image that we use to unpack this a lot. And this is an image you can talk about with your team, but we call it a bridge, not a wall. Now, look at this picture, right? Imagine, Timothy, if you were up right on the side of that cliff. I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty freaked out, right? If there was no fence there or anything to keep me from falling off, right? If I went up right to the side of that edge, the first thing I'd probably do is take 5 steps back. And then what I'd think is why in the world is there not a fence at the edge of this cliff? Somebody's going to die, right? The last thing I would probably be thinking is, I need to build a bridge right here, right? This is true for us as human beings. You see, each of us encounters new and different people through life. Our natural instinct when we come up to somebody who's different than us, who see things different than us, we need to put up a wall, protect ourselves from them because we don't know them, we don't trust them. We as human beings, it's natural to be prone to distrust. But the great team captain consciously says, I'm going to build a bridge of relationship that can bear the weight of honest disclosure. Yeah. But the thing is, building a bridge, you got to go. I mean, it's not easy. If I gave you, wood and nails and a hammer, you could probably build a fence that could stand up. If I gave you everything that you need to build a bridge, you probably couldn't do it because you got to go get a degree. You got to understand engineering, and it's a lot harder to build a bridge. Team captains understand things aren't just going to fall into play for them with their relationships. They're going to have to work hard, and they're going to have to study and learn how to lead in order to be an effective leader. But they do it because they know how valuable it is that once that bridge is built and they can develop that trust, the team is going to go further faster, right? So talk to me about this. What does it look like for you, Timothy, to build bridges that can bear the weight of trust with your teammates?
Well, I believe that to build a bridge that can bring forth trust is understanding that we're all different, y'all. We are all different. But it's our differences that allows us to make a difference, right? Because our backgrounds are different, that should gives us that what we need to go out there and make a difference. I would remind my teammates all the time, man, some of you all have children. You are out here because you believe that this game can change what you have going on at home. And so keep that perspective in front of you and keep pushing so you can make that difference in your life on the team and your life at home. And so it was just understanding that in order for us to grow together, we got to go through adversity together, through ups and downs. That start with communication, but it starts with understanding. You have to know one another, but you have to believe in them more than you believe in yourself. That's what I believe, building that bridge. That bridge lets you know that I believe in crossing this bridge, we will get to this other side. We all heard it when watching the new Michael Jordan, The Last Dance documentary. It was not just about Michael Jordan scoring all the points. It was about Michael Jordan taking his belief that he had in himself and passing the ball to his teammates. And that's when I get my athletes, and I try to get people to understand, get the ball out of your hands, pass the ball. Because when you have enough belief to pass the ball to someone else, that not only shows that you believe in them, but it allows them to believe in themselves. And so I believe this bridge has something to do with us believing in ourselves that we do have it. But we have to understand you having it has everything to do with what you do with it in tough times. Doesn't matter when the sun is shining, but how can you all still grow together as a team when we've practiced all week and had the best week of our life, but then still lost 40-0 Saturday, right? How can you do it? You go right back to the basics with belief, And I think that'll start allowing you to move along, because belief and convictions allows you to take action on what you need to change on leadership and in life. That's what I believe, JT.
I think that's good, Timothy. I love that. I have more content, but I want to just skip to the last one here so that we can have time to answer some questions.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna jump down to attitude, the habit and attitude of the thermostat leader, number 5, and then if I can, I'm gonna try and come back and tell you what all of them are. But this attitude we say is called embrace the whitewater, right? Embrace the whitewater. I don't know if you've ever been whitewater rafting or if you've seen videos of people whitewater rafting, right? But when you go down a river, right, it's not any fun if there's not whitewater, right? But also, people lose their lives in whitewater rapids. You know, the big idea behind this is when you decide to be the leader on your team, you got to understand it's not going to be smooth sailing. We're not going tubing, okay? You're not hopping in a tube. You are deciding to go down Class 5 whitewater rapids. Leadership is really hard.
Yeah.
The principles are simple. The execution is hard.
Yeah.
And when we talk about leadership, we're doing it in the safe confines of a pool, right? Today, we're talking about, here's how you swim, and here's how we're teaching you the basics. It means a lot different when you're actually in the wild river. And it's going to feel a lot different when you actually go to try to execute some things. But I want to remind you, the whitewater principle reminds us, you don't need it to be easy. You just need it to be possible, right? So let me give you just kind of a bigger idea again of this whitewater principle, right? The whitewater principle and the whitewater problem reminds us that life is not lived in a pool. Your team is not going to interact like you're just all in a pool having a good old pool party, right? Instead, it's lived in a wild river that pushes and pulls and dunks and throws whatever it can against the rocks. In fact, the entire year you're with your team, your teammates, and because you're just human beings and you're different, you're going to hurt each other, you're going to push each other, it's going to be wild, right? But leaders understand, great team captains understand that life is more than just positive thinking and knowing how to swim, right? It's not just jumping in the boat and saying, it's going to be great. No, it's choosing to have a mindset that I can do this. No matter how hard the whitewater gets, I trust that I have the ability to navigate this. It's being prepared to endure and learning to navigate life's most difficult whitewater moments and expecting the whitewater to come. Expect the whitewater to come so that when it does come, you're ready for it. So here's kind of the big idea here, right? Most people, they think, I'm going to be the team captain. And they have this high expectation. People are going to love me. I got to attend this webinar and I learned everything I needed to learn. I'm just going to be great. And then reality kicks in. You hit whitewater and you actually fall out of the boat because somebody does something that hurts you, or your teammates don't respect you, or maybe they walk all over you and they just don't listen, because that's who people are. People are jerks sometimes, right? Well, anytime you have an expectation and it doesn't match your reality, frustration occurs, right? So one of the best things you can do as a leader is try to be consistent. And hit your expectations. Be consistent. Be consistent. Be consistent. Be consistent. If you show up and you're like the most motivational person and talking all this talk and doing all this stuff, and then 2 days later, you're lazy and you're moping and you're complaining, guess what's going to happen? You just set an expectation, and then your reality came down low, and now your whole team's frustrated with you and annoyed by you because you're just talk. Be consistent. Expect whitewater to come. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't be Timothy Alexander. I cannot be Timothy Alexander. Be you and do what you think is right. Timothy, I'd love for you to weigh in on this really quick, and then I'll go through the habits really quickly.
So I had something down when it comes down to belief. When it really comes down to what it takes to be a thermostat, you got to have a vision, you have to believe, and you have to take action. Again, if you want to really see things change around you and not get frustrated, but understand expectation and reality, you got to keep your vision. When I joined the team at UAB, The first day on the job, I told my coach what every rookie tells the GM. By the time I graduate, we're going to win a championship. And I believe that. And so believe, and I am a thermostat, and I set the tone, and I give you this truth in a nutshell on what they're saying. It really starts with appreciation. The A in attitude, to me, stands for appreciation, because appreciation is the full understanding of a situation. And so when I have appreciation of being a thermostat, that gives me the next thing I need to do when it comes down to work. Leaders work. Leaders are always working on others. Leaders are always working on how can we serve others more? How can we push others to go farther and do more? How can we push others to go farther than what far we've gone? How can we push others to maximize? It starts with appreciation. And so when you appreciate where you are, when you work hard for what you want, that earns you the right to embrace. That earns you the right to see the results that you want. But it starts with appreciation. It starts with work. It starts with your earning, which is all set up in you being a thermostat. And so you will get frustrated. It was so frustrated to get guys to listen. But when we started winning, all I had to say was, we told you so. We told you, right? So again, I just believe that in this journey of your life, be what you want to see, and understand that you being a thermostat has everything to do with your mindset. And your mindset is choices that leads to thoughts, thoughts that leads to decisions, and decisions that leads to action. That's the habitude mindset. That's the thermostat mindset, that wherever I go, whether I'm inside, whether I'm on the field or off the field, in my car, out in public, I'm going to always have my mindset in a place where I can steward my choices very, very well. That's going to lead to thoughts, because you think about what you chose to do and you decide, which also goes hand in hand with your action. And because of that, we won the championship. Our program has been back for only 3 years, and we've had back-to-back championship appearances. Things have changed and happened in my life. I went from not being able to talk to now I speak all over the world and empower others to be change agents within themselves and who all they come in contact with growing leaders. But it's this stuff that they've heard. Understanding that you got it, but just realizing I got to go out and take action. Because if I just write notes down, then guess what y'all just did? You just become a great note taker. But you got to get this stuff off the paper and go act on it. The thermostats act. That's why if the temperature is not set, we reset it, right? We take action. So take action and go get it going.
I love it, TA. Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out your phone. If you know how to take a screenshot, get ready to take some screenshots. If not, get out your phone and just take a picture of the screen, because I want you to have the full list. The habit number one, right? Habit and attitude is always add value, right? Take initiative to extravagantly care for your teammates. Take a picture really quick. All right, if you miss it, I'm sorry, I got to go to the next one, all right? Number two is begin with belief. Assume the best about your teammates and take the high road, all right? Number three, we didn't get to get this one, but it's all for one, right? Sacrifice for others, because growing leaders is a team sport, right? Think about a puzzle piece in a box top in a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, right? You are one piece on the 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. Your piece is very important, but there's a whole puzzle. Every piece matters. Even if it's the top left corner, right? If you put together that whole puzzle without one piece, it looks terrible, right? Every piece matters. So sacrifice and remind people that they matter. Number four, I'm going to go to the next one. Here we go. Number four, love to run. Metaphorically speaking, take initiative and do what you believe is right. Just like a horse, right? A horse that loves to run is a great horse. If you're a horse that is lazy and has to be prodded, that is not a great horse, right? quite simply, right? The regular horse is satisfied by comfort. The horse that loves to run, satisfied by growth. The horse that loves to run folds after they fail. The horse that loves to run is fueled from failure because it means they get to get better. The horse that loves to run is sporadic and just has bursts of energy every now and then. The horse that loves to run is consistent. The regular horse that's lazy is thinking, what can I get out of this? The horse that loves to run is saying, what can I give out of this? The regular horse that's average and just has to be prodded is just there to survive the season, or the horse that loves to run is there to strive in the season, right? And then, of course, number 5 was embrace the whitewater, right? You don't need it to be easy. You just need it to be possible. And if you want a good mindset here, I would just say number 6 here is the attitude of lead with ambition. Lead with ambition. Buy in with reckless abandon to living a life of humility and ambition. These are 2 paradoxical ideas, right? Buy into living with humility, which is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less because you want to serve others, but you are the most ambitious, tenacious, I am going to get it, we are going to win, and you are going to fight for it. If you can marry your ambition with humility and have that ambition, you will be a great leader. And ultimately, the most powerful principle of all leadership is the mirror effect. The truth in a nutshell, as a leader, your followers will simply be a reflection of you. Not only will you attract others like yourself, but over time, those who follow you will mirror both your negative and positive characteristics. The number 1 leadership principle on earth, people do what people see. So there's a couple of resources that you can get if you want to dive deeper into this. We've got a resource called Habitudes for Life-Giving Leaders. It'll help you dive into some practical things you can do to grow as a leader. You can go to growingleaders.com. In fact, we'll go ahead and put this in the chat box here for you, so you can get that. But you can go order that, and then also you can read more about Timothy Alexander's book and his story on Amazon. Just look for Ever Faithful, Ever Loyal. I'm going to try my best to try to figure out how to put these links in the chat box here, but I would highly encourage you to check these out, right? I will have to figure out how to do that. I don't know how do I add it into the chat? I'm not sure.
You should be able to, I can actually type the website in on my side, JT.
Okay. I've got a link for you that gives them everything. So I might just try to put it in the questions tab, and then you can type and paste it to everything. Okay. Just type it in. But here, I also want to tell you guys ways you can keep in touch, and then we'll answer some questions. But, be sure, if you don't already, follow at Growing Leaders, Glazier Clinics, Timothy Alexander's Inspired by TA, and you can follow me if you want. And then if you're a coach on here or a team captain, we've got free tools for you at growingleaders.com/coachescompass. Absolutely free to help you navigate kind of the COVID-19 stuff that's going on. But y'all, thank you for your time today. And I'll kind of transition to you, Aaron. I know that we probably want to do some questions here, but we got the last five or so minutes. So,
yes, sir. I am copying and pasting your message in here. So everyone should see some links just pop up in that chat box. So feel free to check those out. Yeah, I got a bunch of questions here. I'll try to get to a couple of them. A lot of great questions. And again, thank you everyone for your engagement on this. Even my inbox is filled with stuff asking if this is going to be available later. So it's exciting, really exciting. JT, Timothy, what if a team already has a leader? What are some things you can do to establish yourself or try to execute some of these principles?
So if a team already has a leader, but you're trying to show, is that what you're saying?
Right. How do you become a leader? How do you step up if a team maybe already has 1 or 2 or 10 people that are filling those roles?
I think in that situation, you lead those you have influence over. Every team does have leaders, but players also look to other players. So even if one day you notice that the team is down and the leader doesn't notice it, you be the one to pick everyone up. It just has to be a part of your DNA. Again, I will be on the sideline clapping. Hey, let's go, pick it up, right? Not just doing it because leaders lead with the lights are on, with the lights off, whether I have a title or not. I'm just going to go out there and just lead. I'm just going to go out there and do it and get others to do it. And so I think that'll really help you, because everybody is a leader. Some people need titles, some people don't. But if you just want to go out there and you understand that you are a leader, go out there and lead those you have influence over. You keep being on time. You motivate others and push them to maximize themselves as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't add anything to that. We can go to the next question. Timothy just
Perfect. How do you be a host or a servant leader on your team without seeming like you can be taken advantage of and people trying to kind of walk all over you?
Timothy, you want to take that one? You want me to take that one? I'll give you my perspective. I mean, I think that even the mentality of being walked all over, right? People will probably try and walk all over you a little bit, right? But I think that definition is hard to answer, right? Walk all over. I mean, I think, if you just for a week or 2 weeks, let people walk all over you and just show that it doesn't affect you, right? Just serve extravagantly. That's what extravagant means, is serving despite how people treat you, right? And then you will earn their respect, so that once you do say, hey, you can't keep doing that to me. That's not the way we treat people. They will listen to you. But if you just try to push back right away, you're talking to there's an old ancient proverb, right? Try to speak wisdom to a fool and they'll think you're an idiot, right? So if people are going to try to take advantage of you, let them take advantage of you for a little bit, and let them show them how it doesn't affect you and that you're happy to serve, because that's what leaders do. And then after you've earned their respect a little bit, sit them down and say, hey, when you do this, that's not okay. You're teaching our team this, this, and this, and you don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I love you, man. I'm here with you, and I know that's not who you want to be. So let's stop doing that, and how can I help you be the person that I know that you are? Right? That'll change the way that they see you and respect you, right? But they're not just going to magically stop treating you bad because they don't respect you. That's why they're treating you bad, usually, right? But I think there's a huge different definition on treating you bad, right? Obviously, if like people are throwing you in a locker or, saying things that are completely inappropriate, right? That's different. But if somebody's saying like, hey, why don't you carry wash our cleats or whatever, it's like, yeah, do it with a happy heart. Outserve everyone on your team. Be the one who washes the jerseys or cleans the cleats or helps load the bus or, gives up their seat or whatever it might be, because that's what leadership is. It's not about you being comfortable. It's about you helping others grow and serving others. So, Timothy, I don't know if you'd add or anything, but.
I really liked it. I like what JT said. Now, JT said 2 weeks, y'all. I am not giving it 2 weeks. I'm going to give you about 3 days, right? I'm going to give you about 3 days, and then on that third day is resurrection time. I got to let you know now, for the last 3 days, I done let you talk to me crazy and try to walk over me. It's not happening like that, because then I'll start communicating what I've been doing in spite of. And so I think JT said it. Let it happen a little bit, but you got to use that as an opportunity to say something and roll the boat in the direction it needs to be rolled.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Let's hit one more question here. If you guys are good with that, I guess I better make it a good one.
Yeah, we can do one more.
Yes, sir. So how would you approach, and this question initially came from a coach, but I think it's important from the athlete's perspective as well. How do you go about taking care of, I guess, culture killing behaviors, especially when it seems maybe none of your captains will speak up? They think maybe it's being just a part of a team. And from an athlete's perspective, what if you're the one person that feels, an activity or a, part of your culture is wrong? How do you approach that, being in the minority, I suppose?
So can I start it off, JT?
Yes.
So the one that kills the culture is just as guilty as the one who sees someone killing the culture and they don't say anything. Because there's no way I'm about to let someone come in my home and kill the culture in my home, right? I think you have to say something. You have to be the vocal few. But then I also understand that if that person is killing the culture, then they are also gonna start getting that others to do that on the team as well. And so the culture killers are the ones you got to get out of there, because they're just going to make everything, else go down. And what I understand is the captains that see this happening and not saying anything, they don't need to be captains. Because my thing about it, as the coaches love me all over the world, because at the end of practice, this is how I win with coaches. When the head coaches say everybody hands together, meaning everybody's clapping, everybody should be clapping. But you always have that one that's not clapping. You got to be the one to say, hey, if a player looked up and saw you not clapping, then he's going to start not clapping. Everybody's doing exactly what the head man's doing. That's just how it goes when you're trying to build a championship team. I don't know what team you're trying to build, but if you want to build a champion, you got to say something, because what you do affect others. That's why I said earlier, I'm going to let that guy be late. I'm going to let that guy be late so he can expose himself. Then we're going to talk to him. Because, man, if I'm late with you, then everybody else going to start saying, well, I'm going to be late with something. No. We got to get our job done, because athletics is a business, y'all. And as I close, if you're not here to handle business, you don't have any business here. It's our business. For the 5 years I played football at UAB, every day I made it a part of my business to leave it all on the field, because that's all I had for them, 4 or 5 years, and I was going on to the next chapter. But I left it all on the field and in the classroom, day in and day out, because I accepted the fact that I was a captain. And because I was a captain and a leader and I never touched the field, it made me take pride in my job and take pride in the small things. And so I would remind those guys, JT, hey, you never know when it'll be your last day putting on your cleats or taking your cleats off. And because you don't know, you should make it count while you can. To all the athletes and coaches out here, you never know. And so I'm here to remind you, tomorrow's not promising no one. Today's not promising no one. I went from walking one day to rolling the next, to doctor saying he'll never do this and that. But I bounced back because I changed my approach. I changed my perspective, and I started saying something and doing something for my life and others around me, solving and serving.
I don't even need to say anything, man.
Yes, sir. I think we'll call it at that. Guys, Timothy Alexander, JT Thoms, seriously, thank you guys so much. These past couple of weeks have been awesome. The energy, the message, all of this has just been great. And if you guys have looked at these comments at all, I think you can see the reaction this has gotten positively from our audience. So thank you guys so much again for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you for having us, and thank you to the Marines, for Glazier, for putting this on. And y'all, we're there for you. We're caring about you. We know that you can do it. Just keep trying every day and go embrace that white water. Go be a thermostat. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great one, guys.